Hey guys, it's Tila with Every Tuesday, and today we're going to be creating a holiday advent calendar. Well, advent house. This is the North Pole Post Office, and there are 12 stickers ready to be delivered, and they come in these cute little envelopes that have a custom rubber stamped snowflake on the front. And believe it or not, this entire project was created just using one machine, from the structure to the envelopes to the stickers to that custom rubber stamp. But we'll get to all of that in a little bit. Let's start from the beginning. I started by drawing out a sketch on my iPad of how I pictured this house in my head. The front would look like a normal building, and the back would have 12 slots to fit the stickers. This meant the back needed to be flat and the front needed to look more interesting. So I planned a sloped roof with 2 dormers, 2 large windows for the elves to be working and Santa to be reading letters, and a cute doorway with some kind of logo on the front. Now that I had my plan, I jumped into Adobe Illustrator to create the pieces. I put each piece based on color on an artboard, since I would be pre-painting my basswood with acrylic paint. Once that was ready, it was time to get cutting. For this project, I'm using xTool's M1 Ultra, who is the sponsor of this week's video, and if you haven't heard of this machine yet, you're in for a treat because it can pretty much make any of your craft dreams come true. It has interchangeable modules, so you can use it to laser items, cut, score, and foil emboss materials, and it even has an inkjet module, so you can print on wood if you'd like, which we're going to do. It's a laser machine, an inkjet printer, and a cutting machine all in one. As a matter of fact, I haven't turned my Cricut on once since I started using it because I find the process is a lot faster and more streamlined with the M1 Ultra. Let's first start cutting out our pre-painted wood. Although I designed my own pieces, xTool has a full library of projects you can download and use with the M1 Ultra. So if you'd like to create projects with the files already prepared, there are plenty to choose from. It's time to switch out the laser module with the inkjet module. Look how easy this is. Just push the top lever, pull the laser out, then pop in the inkjet module and plug in the cord. Now let's inkjet print right onto our wood. Now that I know where the images are, without bumping the wood, I need to paint the space in between them with the light blue I have planned as the main color of the building. If I painted this blue to begin with, then my inkjet print would look bluish, which I definitely didn't want. I'm going to laser engrave the logo in this area, so that's why I'm painting just this spot. And I can paint the rest of the building once I'm finished cutting everything else out. I'll zap it with a heat gun to dry it, and now we can finish engraving and cutting out these pieces. Before we start cutting paper, I need to make the rubber stamp I have planned. This will be a circular stamp in the shape of a snowflake that I'm really excited about. I purchased some laser-friendly rubber from xTool, so I'm going to put a piece in the laser bed and engrave away the negative area so I have a positive stamp. I applied a cut setting to the outside, but my setting wasn't powerful enough, so I'm just going to finish cutting that out with some scissors. I have all the basswood cut and the stamp done, so now it's time to cut out some shingles for the roof. We'll be using the fine blade cutting option for this, which I've already inserted to the left of the laser module. I do need to remove the prism grid though and lay down the cutting mat. There's adhesive on both sides so it'll stay secure on the bottom, and I can adhere the paper I need to cut on the top. For this, I'm using craft cardstock that I brushed with some different color India inks on top to vary up the color a little. You can see how nicely the fine blade cuts through the paper, and now I've got what I need for my shingles. Since this is a sticker advent calendar, it's going to need some stickers and envelopes for those stickers. We're going to make the envelopes first using the same process as the shingles. I've adjusted the settings so the cut is less powerful on the inside for my score lines and more powerful around the edges so it'll cut all the way through. Just like that, I've got some really cute envelopes. Now let's make our stickers. I'm adding glossy white vinyl sticker paper to the cutting mat, and I'll leave links to all the supplies from this video right in the description. I need to switch out the laser module to the inkjet module. And now let's watch it print. The M1 Ultra comes with a foil embossing attachment, so I wanted to give that a try on the stickers. I need to put my foil in the areas I have planned and secure it with a little tape. Then pop in the attachment and let's watch it go. As a side note, I tested this off camera with clear sticker paper and the foil wouldn't stick to it at all, but it does a great job on the glossy white vinyl. Since I'm going with the post office theme here, I wanted all of my stickers to look like stamps, so let's cut them out with a fine blade in square and rectangle stamp shapes. I've got all of my stickers, paper, and wood ready, so it's time for my favorite part, assembly. I'll start with painting the rest of the facade the light blue. Next, I'll move on to my candy cane columns. I use the laser to score the lines on these, so I've got a nice guide for painting. I also need to paint 2 of the steps going up to the front door, so I'll take care of that too. The windows on the side of the building and the dormers will need some yellow, so I'll paint those in next. While those dry, I'll put our front steps together. I'm securing all of my wood pieces using tacky glue, which dries fairly quickly and has held up really well for me. Once the stairs have finished drying, I'm going to position them where they'll go on the front and set the door above them to create a guide for the yellow window and paint that in. Let's attach our window frames and shutters next. I'll lay them down without glue first to see that everything fits correctly, and then I'll glue. Let's start assembling the grid for our little mail slots. These just slide together, so no glue is needed for the interior slots, but I will put some on the top, bottom, and sides to keep it square once it's together, and then I'll set it aside to dry. I'm going to begin assembling the little dormers next, and these might be my favorite part of the whole build because they're just so cute. I'll get their sides glued on, and while that dries, we can shingle the little roofs. I'm offsetting each strip from the one below it by half, and I've got 2 different shades of brown, so I'm alternating that as well. I'll repeat that process for all 4 sections, and once the glue is dry, I flip each of them over and just use the edges of the wood like a ruler, running a utility knife down the edge to trim them flush. Just make sure you don't trim the bottom edge. Now that everything's shingled, I'll apply the roof pieces to the dormer facades using tacky glue. While they're drying, we can attach the main facade to the grid we assembled. I'm using my trusty tacky glue again, putting dabs all around it to keep it secure. I've purposely made the facade shorter to accommodate the slanted roof, which will have an overhang. Once attached, I can add window frames to one side and allow all of that to dry. Now's a good time to shingle our main roof, so I'll repeat the same steps we followed for the dormers. We'll just be using larger pieces this time, still offsetting by half as I move my way from the bottom to the top. We'll let that dry and add the other window frames to the side of our building in the meantime. Tacky glue dries pretty quickly when applied to paper, so I think it's safe enough to trim the edges of the main roof, again being sure to leave the bottom edge intact. I'm going to attach the little dormers on the roof next, and I'm just eyeing where I'd like them to go, visually checking that there's equal space on both sides and that the bottoms look aligned. Once it all looks good, I'll attach them with glue, and I just love how these came out. Time to move back to the facade where we can attach our candy cane columns with a little glue, then glue on the front stairs, and finally the front door. I made a little frame around the door, so I'll attach that next. These are pretty tiny pieces, so the tweezers really came in handy here. This next part made me a little nervous, but everything was in alignment, so the roof went on and stayed on without any trouble. After letting that fully dry, I flipped it over and attached the top panel on the back, along with the remaining candy cane columns, and our building is complete. Now we just need to fill it. Remember that rubber stamp? We're going to need that for this part, so I need to get the handle on it first. I looked up handles online and the prices were a little nuts, so I cut out a few different size circles from scrap wood and I made one from those. I'm using tacky glue again to glue everything together and then setting it aside to dry. When I looked at the front of the post office, it felt like it needed something in the doorway, so I quickly cut a little circle with the M1 Ultra out of green cardstock, and I'm just dotting it with gold, silver, and red Posca markers for a cute and simple little wreath, and that looks much better now. The stamp is nearly dry, but I cannot help myself. I have to try it out. I'll get some white ink on it from the standard ink pad, and I've got a piece of scrap colored paper to test it out on first. I got a little messy on that first test, but it worked exactly as I was hoping. So let's move on to the real thing, stamping the fronts of our mini envelopes. I've got 12 envelopes, so I'm doing my best to center the stamp on each one. Once they were dry, my plan was to handwrite the numbers with gold Posca, but clearly that didn't look as good in real life as it did in my head, so I pivoted to plan B, black ink, which actually worked great. Now we just need to fill them. I've got my pile of stickers handy, so I'm filling each envelope with a sticker and securing them with a small piece of washi tape. All that's left to do is fill the mail slots with the envelopes, and this Advent post office is ready for the holidays. So I am really happy with how this project came out, and my sticker-loving 5-year-old is already asking when she can dig into these envelopes and open them up and start playing with her brand new stickers. And this project could really be adapted to any other small toys or trinkets that you could fit inside these slots, and then you could just change up the theme of the building to fit it. I just love that the M1 Ultra allowed me to create this entire project just by placing whatever material I needed to use right in the bed and process. I didn't have to switch between different machines. I didn't have to switch up softwares. I just put my material in and I was ready to go. So I'm very excited to begin creating even more projects using the M1 Ultra. Once again, links to everything mentioned in this video are right in the description, and I will see you next time.